They're all mental. They're all mental. That's John Fetterman. John Fetterman took a fall. That's what they say when you reach a certain age. That's how they phrase it. Took a fall. Bashed his face, but he's okay. He's all right. He might be listening to Led Zeppelin even as we speak. Ba-da-ba-dum. Yes. Hour number 3. Welcome back. We are at 888-630-9625. There was a kind of a little bit funny an interview that was released with Katie Couric. Remember her? She used to be in the news business. She's 68 years old, Katie Couric. According to the internet, that's what the internet says, 68 years old. She wasn't always 68 years old, as I understand it, but pretty remarkable interview that she did with Democrat Senator John Fetterman. She interviewed him before he fell down and bashed his face on the sidewalk, which is, nothing funny about that. He had a stroke a while back and all that, and she was the anchor of the CBS Evening News, and she was on 60 Minutes, and she used to work for CNN, and she's a big-time journalist. They paid her millions and millions of dollars to be a journalist, and she's been married a couple of times to men. This, and that's so we got that. But let's go to Katie Couric, because she was interviewing Democrat Senator John Fetterman, and believe it or not, all she could do was attack Donald Trump and accuse Donald Trump of stuff. Katie Couric talking to Senator John Fetterman, and kind of an amazing story. Well, here you are. I've got Senator John Fetterman. He's kind of going against the tide of the Democrat Party a lot lately. You might talk to him about that, but no. Katie Couric, longtime Democrat. She wanted to show the world. Maybe she wants a new job at the age of 68. Maybe she wants to be hired back for millions of dollars to do the Democrat Party's bidding again. So here she is talking to Senator John Fetterman and asking him, not about him or the world or the shutdown or anything like that, just about what? About Donald Trump. Katie Couric and John Fetterman.
When you consider some of Donald Trump's behaviors and policies, like deploying federal forces to U.S. cities, undermining the Department of Justice's independence, attempting to overturn the 2020 election, does that not trouble you deeply?
Well, of course. I was really the tip of the spear in the 2020 election in Pennsylvania. But I think at this point right now, we are not in an autocracy. We're in a democracy, and that's why they were able to shut our government down.
Yeah, the DOJ's independence. Hey, Katie, were you really upset when the FBI and the Department of Justice under Joe Biden were used to target dozens of President Trump's officials, people who went to the Naval Academy and then they lied to the FISA courts and the intelligence community ginned up that felonious 51 letter claiming that, of course, that Hunter Biden's laptop was Russian disinformation and all the reporting on it was fake and you're all being deceived and they tampered with our presidential election. And isn't that amazing? Yeah, Trump's behaviors. Yeah, sending in National Guard to cities where the murder rate is off the charts, worse than Iraq, worse than Afghanistan. And Katie Couric is pro-murder, apparently. She's fine with 600 murders in the city of Chicago. Pay no attention to that. And maybe she forgot that Joe Biden deployed the National Guard to Washington, D.C., and they were on our streets for 4 months. Thousands, and there was thousands. We had 24 or 25,000 National Guard troops in Washington, D.C., in our nation's capital because, January 6th, not because of the 3 days of Democrat rioting at the White House and setting fire to the Church of the Presidents and burning the only building in Lafayette Park and injuring 180 police officers, attacking the White House and forcing the evacuation of President Trump and the First Family. No big deal with that. No. And then, of course, January 6th came, and one young woman, a 12-year Air Force veteran, was shot and killed by a racist police officer at the U.S. Capitol Police, Lieutenant Byrd, right? And that was all fine, and then they all lied, said 6 police officers were killed that day. Joe Biden actually said that. These people don't have functional brains. But never mind that. Katie Couric didn't have any of these questions. Trump's behavior of federal forces to cities. A lot of Republicans have had to send troops to cities to move Democrats out of the way so we could racially integrate schools and things like that, like Central High in Little Rock, Arkansas, and like University of Alabama and George Wallace. And George Wallace campaign worker assassinated Martin Luther King. But never mind that. And the DOJ's independence. Really? Do you remember Barack Obama's IRS targeting all of the Tea Party groups and patriot groups to keep them on the sidelines on the lead up to Barack Obama's second election? You recall any of that? Trump is undermining the DOJ's independence. And you just watched 4 years of the Biden administration, and Katie Couric apparently didn't notice anything, didn't pay attention. She must have been chewing gum or something the whole time. Isn't that amazing? Yeah, and Fetterman is like, well, we're not an autocracy. It was not really what we're talking about, but okay, we can do that. Just amazing. And what did he try to do? Overturn the 2020 election. That's what she said. She is unaware of the fact that the Democrat Party has attempted to overturn, they have challenged, fought, disputed, and tried to overturn every presidential election in the 21st century that they've lost, starting with the year 2000, 2020, counting dangling Chads in Florida, and 537 votes in Florida. I think that's the number. And they tried to overturn that election. But Katie Couric didn't describe it when she was at CBS News 25 years ago as the lead anchor, as the Democrats trying to steal the election, overturn the election. But that's actually what they were trying to do, was overturn the election and steal the election. And then, of course, I could play the audio all day of the then DNC chair who became the governor of Virginia. He said that the 2000 election was stolen. The 2004 election was stolen. Then they won 2008 and 2012, so those weren't stolen. They've contested every presidential election in the 21st century that they've lost. That is a fact. And for some reason, I'm the only one who's noticed that. The entirety of the New York Times, CNN, ABC News, nobody's noticed that. Democrats have contested every presidential election that they've lost since the year 2000. That's 25 years ago. The ones they win, they don't contest, of course. That'd be silly, wouldn't it? It was Terry McAwful, who was the DNC chair and the governor of Virginia after that, who claimed that every election that the Republicans won, they stole.
If Catherine Harris, Jeb Bush,
2000,
Jim Baker, and the Supreme Court hadn't tampered with the results, Al Gore would be president.
See, that's because the Republicans stole the election, and then the 2004 election, the Republicans won again.
We actually won the last presidential election, folks. They stole the last presidential election.
And the mob goes wild, and then they firebomb the Jews, and that's what they do. But this is what journalism is, the most corrupt institution in America. That's why I call it the most corrupt institution in America, because it's the most corrupt institution in America. Isn't that amazing? Yeah, Trump. Yeah. Troops in cities. Barack Obama, Joe Biden did that. And that was just the last president. And 25,000 troops in Washington, D.C. And troops here for 4 months. No big deal, right? And the DOJ's independence, no sense of irony. They don't follow the news. They literally don't follow the news. They haven't in a long, long time. Yeah. And overturning the elections, which Democrats have done. Katie didn't notice. For 25 years, she hasn't noticed.
You can run the best campaign. You can even become the nominee. And you can have the election stolen from you.
Woo! I love the things they cheer at. And say, you had the election stolen from you. Yay, you've had the election stolen from you. They're not smart people. By the way, the Democrats are violently attacking an ICE facility in the Chicago area today. There are thousands dead, and cities are burning. Not really, but there are a bunch of arrests and violence against law enforcement. because the Democrats want more illegal alien gang members roaming the streets. So there will be more murder and more rape because the Democrat Party. Katie Couric, back to Katie Couric talking to Senator John Fetterman. And, okay, so your question was complete horsepucky. Let's start with that. Trump's behavior. Oh, no, troops in cities. That hasn't happened since Joe Biden, the last president, who was a Democrat. Undermining the DOJ's independence. Hey, wait a minute. Let's review. Let's go from the Obama administration and the IRS and the Justice Department and the Intelligence Committee and the Biden administration. Never mind that. And then attempting to overturn the election, which he didn't attempt to do. But he is actually legally entitled to challenge. And the Democrats challenged 2000, 2004. They're fine with 08 and 12. Then they challenged 2016. They still claim that, and that was Hillary Clinton saying 2016 was stolen. Then they won 2020 with a record number of votes in the history of the country for the comatose Joe Biden. And many millions more votes than the Democrats gave to Hillary Clinton, and many millions more votes than the Democrats gave to Barack Obama, all went to Joe Biden. And there's nothing to see there. Nothing to see there. And there's a video of the on and on it goes. But never mind that. Katie Couric, and she is just representing the so-called mainstream news media in the United States of America with this interview with John Fetterman. And it's like, okay, so John Fetterman answers the question. All right, your next question, Katie. Let's make it a good one.
Do you think that Donald Trump is not conducting himself or not pushing policies, though, that you would consider to be anti-democratic?
If you believe we live in an autocracy, and I don't. And I think we can both agree that we don't agree with the vast majority of those things that's happened here right now. And I wouldn't do those things. We happen to have a different view of these things. You know, it's like I don't call people fascists or Nazis or compare people to Hitler. And I think that's part of why we lost our election last year.
Well, because you guys are all Hitler? That thing, and all the Hitlers are violently attacking an ICE facility outside of Chicago today because they love crime, and if it's illegal, they love it. So, Katie Couric on this. Isn't Trump terrible? Can't you say something bad about Trump? Don't you hate Trump? Isn't Trump anti-democratic? Isn't Trump abusing the Department of Justice? Isn't Trump bad for putting federal troops in cities? By the way, have you seen the crime numbers in Chicago that are dropping and dropping and dropping and no big deal, because, you know, the Democrats like crime. They prefer crime. They commit the lion's share of crimes in the United States of America, of course. And if you look at the numbers of crime, the carjackings, the shootings, the murders in Chicago, down, 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 because President Trump and the federal government cracking down on crime in Chicago. Imagine that. Can't have that. The Democrats, they like to crack down on everything except crime. They don't like to crack down on crime. Isn't that amazing? Our Democrat Party. All right, then Katie Couric still talking to the Democrat senator. She had more to say. But yeah. Oh wait, I got that too. Yeah, in Chicago they've got this anti-crime thing going on. It's called Midway Blitz. Midway Blitz. There's Midway Airport, and it's the middle of the country. Homicides are down 16%. President Trump saving a lot of lives, mostly black lives. Shootings in Chicago are down 35%. 35%. Right? The terrible troops being deployed in America. But there are a lot fewer murders in Chicago, a lot fewer shootings in Chicago. Robberies are down 41%. Carjackings are down 48%. Transit crime is down 20%. And Katie Couric is angry that President Trump is fighting crime. Can you believe that there are troops in the street? Well, not as many as Joe Biden deployed to Washington, D.C. But never mind context, knowledge, information, awareness, memory, truth. Never mind any of those things. You know, a recent study revealed that just 1 year after a woman has an abortion, those women are 50% more likely to need psychiatric treatment and 87% more likely to experience personality disorders or behavioral disorders. That is not what most people would call women's health care. That's trauma. unless you ask a Democrat, of course. But at preborn, the wonderful people at preborn, when a woman finds a real kind of care, real health care, the kind that heals, when a woman walks into one of preborn's network of clinics across the country, she is welcomed with open arms, lovingly. She can also see her baby through an ultrasound, waving at her and winking at her and writhing around. And she's offered hope-filled choices, real choices. And if she chooses life, then preborn continues working with her for up to 2 years, providing maternity clothes and diapers and counseling and how to be the mother of a newborn baby and so much more. Preborn helps care for the whole woman, the whole person, and for the precious person growing inside of her as well. As you think about your year-end donations, your year-end charitable giving, consider the greatest investment you could ever make, the gift of life. All you have to do is dial pound 250, and when prompted, say the keyword baby. That's pound 250, the keyword is baby, or you can go online to preborn.com/plant. That's me, preborn.com/plant. All of your gifts are, of course, tax deductible, and Preborn has a 5-star rating as a charity. Doesn't get any better than that. Wonderful, wonderful. The Democrats. Oh, yeah, but Katie Couric had more questions for Senator Fetterman. You're never going to believe what these questions are about. No more about Trump, but you'll never guess. All right, let's go back to the telephones, Mike. And I've got more because Katie Couric, her interview continued. You're never going to believe who she's attacking next. Oh, you might believe it. Let's go to the phones. Let's go to Larry, calling from Kensington, Maryland. Larry, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Thank you for taking my call, Chris.
You bet, Larry.
I was listening earlier to the interviews with the other people. I came up with, nobody's bringing up the fact that President Trump pushed and said, if I'm president, I'm going to release these files. And all of a sudden he stopped. You know, that went to the back burner. Uh-huh. And I feel that he got his eyes on them and said, uh-oh, we've got some serious diplomatic problems here. Let's close this thing down and move on, because this is going to create some international problems that we really don't want to be part of or deal with. I think that's far more important than Democrat versus Republican. I think that's the reason he all of a sudden changed his tune. And being a good president and a good diplomat.
Very, very interesting. Certainly we have at least one member of the British royal family, and there are more to it. I've got an update on that coming right up out of the Justice Department. Ah, yes, and the weekend is nearly upon us. I want to go back to Katie Couric, because Katie Couric she's going after Donald Trump while talking to Democrat Senator John Fetterman. Katie Couric, CBS News, she was the Walter Cronkite of her era. And it's terrible. She's talking to the Democrat Senator John Fetterman from Pennsylvania, who beat out Mehmet Oz because he was too much of an internationally renowned surgeon and television host and brilliant person and all that. But Katie Couric talking to Senator Fetterman, and when she's done, isn't everything Trump's fault? And Trump put National Guard troops out, and just like Joe Biden did, but it was okay when Joe Biden did it. And now he sent troops to Chicago, where homicides are down 16% and shootings are down 35% and robberies are down 41%, carjackings are down 48%. Isn't that terrible? So terrible. And here's Katie Couric. Still, now she's done with everything is Trump's fault. And it's autocracy, and it's terrible, and fascists and Nazis and all this stuff. And who's shooting who? And Katie Couric talking to Senator Fetterman. Now it's time to change the subject to another Democrat Party talking point and another Democrat Party line of attack, this time on Charlie Kirk of Turning Point USA.
Do you think that flag should have been flown at half-staff? Do you think his body should have been flown on Air Force Two? Do you think he should have posthumously be given the Presidential Medal of Freedom. I think some people felt that was perhaps over the top in terms of mourning someone like Charlie Kirk. How did you feel about that?
I'd say that was his choice and his prerogative, and that was really entirely up to him.
The Presidential Medal of Freedom posthumously. He was assassinated. He was shot through the neck by a bullet fired by a sniper from a sniper's rifle on a rooftop because he's too pro-American and too Christian. So he was assassinated, and his body was being flown home where his wife and two little children were going to bury their father and their husband. And he was a renowned figure in American culture, and the flags were flown at half-staff. Again, it's a political assassination. And why don't you ask one question at a time instead of four questions at once? The flags at half-staff. Don't you think that was too much? Well, no, I don't, but obviously you do, Katie Couric. So we got that going for us. And then Katie Couric, pretty amazing. Just everything the media does is just filth and trash and garbage. But here's Katie Couric still talking to Democrat Senator John Fetterman. And it's Charlie. But isn't Charlie Kirk bad? Because I saw a left-wing website that cobbled together some fragmentary sentences and made him out to sound like he's a real bad guy and didn't wait for him to interact with the lefty in front of him and have a fun back and forth and, walk away shaking hands. Never mind all that. Katie Couric. Did
you have any issues now in hindsight over some of the things that Charlie Kirk said and some of the rhetoric he used during his life?
I didn't agree with much of it. I didn't closely follow his specific kinds of views.
Didn't closely follow.
I did.
I'm sure you learned about them after his death, though.
I'm sure you learned about them.
No, I haven't done a deep dive on it.
No, I'm actually a U.S. Senator. I'm not really a social media maven, but never mind that. It was a political assassination, but it wasn't this rhetoric extreme. And here's one of the things that I've noticed with the smears of Charlie Kirk, who was assassinated by a Democrat, who he's the one with the transgender boyfriend who thinks he's his girlfriend, who wrote the transgender messages on the bullets. Right? It's hard to keep track of all the Democrat assassins and their bullets and their political causes. Is that what about the guy that assassinated the healthcare insurance industry guy on the sidewalk in New York? What was his political? It's just healthcare and they're all Democrat Party issues that lead to the murders, the gunshot wounds, the assassinations. Never mind that. Isn't that amazing? Well, no, I didn't actually dive in. And Katie, but what I've noticed is every time they're smearing him, they don't show a video clip of this terrible language that we've heard so much about of Charlie Kirk saying these outrageous things. And they don't show video clips and they don't quote him. They don't read back the outrageous thing that he said because he really didn't say outrageous things. And when you excise a fraction or a fragment, a portion of a sentence that represents an incomplete thought and an incomplete sentence, then you're just being a slime ball and smearing and slandering. But that's what they do. Senator Fetterman responding to Katie Couric.
I mean, we've all seen that terrible video. Perhaps if you've seen the actual video, I have. And it's like appalling. And that's
Katie
part
hasn't.
of the political violence. That's unacceptable. And engaging in a debate and views I strongly disagree on, that's part of the American democracy. And I just chose not to take the opportunity to argue his views after children lost his father in the most violent public way. We have to disagree in better ways where, you're going to solve it by shooting people. And that's why the kinds of rhetoric, we have to turn the temperature down. Extreme rhetoric makes it easier for extreme reactions or to justify them.
I'm starting to think that maybe every other Democrat senator should have a stroke. They might become better people. They might become more thoughtful, more intelligent, more articulate, although he did trip over a couple of grammatical grammatical issues there. But never mind that. Katie Couric. No, Katie Couric said, no, I hate Charlie Kirk. Everything he said was terrible. It was extreme. And, shut. And the Democrats are out dancing in the street like they're, Arabs on September 11th, 2001. Cheering murder and assassination and political violence. Katie Couric.
I think some people might say Charlie Kirk's rhetoric was extreme.
Some might say.
I think that's the conversation that happened.
It is?
People condemned political violence, but they also felt a great deal of discomfort with his language, suggesting that these kinds of words lead to violence. I don't know. I'm just kind of sharing my observations as I saw the conversations unfold.
Yeah, you saw the conversations unfold, but apparently you missed the conversations unfolding. I'm just saying, because other people are saying, and it's extreme. And again, and if I were the senator, I'd say, well, play a clip of what you're talking about, and I can respond to something specific, but this vague, nebulous, Hitler-like accusation, your love, is that dress from the Ava Braun collection? Because you goose-stepping little John Fetterman.
I think we agree that we probably didn't.
No, we don't
agree with much of what he said.
Really?
And I think I'm sure we both agree that
hundreds of hours
people, and you shouldn't execute them in public.
I'm not sure we do agree with that.
And I think that's two things must be true. That free speech, I'm an absolute free speech guy. And you have the right to say these things, and you definitely also have the right not to get shot by sharing your views.
And once again, what is it that he said that's so extreme again? And I haven't done a Fetterman deep dive on all of this either. But I know that the Democrats stood up websites where they edited, like the Democrats in the House of Representatives, redacting the Jeffrey Epstein emails. So there's a 4-word fragment of a sentence in there. And like, see, he's guilty because they're a vile lynch mob. They're that's the Democrat Party. All right, I haven't been to the phones in a while. Let's go back to the telephones, Michael. Let's go to Rick calling from Manassas, Virginia. Ricardo, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, buongiorno, Chris. ¿Cómo stai?
¿Cómo stai? Bien.
Hey.
Yes.
Sto bien, grazie mille.
Nice.
Hey, real quick.
Yeah.
Real quick. Two things. One, Katie Couric is nothing but a fraud. She hasn't observed anything except herself in the mirror trying to hide her age. And I don't mean to be pejorative, but let's be clear. She's nothing but a liberal shill. Uh-huh. They celebrated and they mourned and they wanted Floyd to be the freaking hero of the Democratic Party. George Floyd didn't deserve squat. He was a criminal. Kirk never injured anybody. He never insulted anybody. I'll let you comment on that, but let me finish with Fetterman.
Uh-huh.
I am shocked that he's turned out to have a spine.
Yeah.
And as articulate as he is after a stroke, standing up to the liberal ethos of the idiot Schumer, Warren, and the other people in the Democratic Party. He's actually been a godsend.
Isn't that funny? Yeah, and I just said a couple of minutes ago that I'm starting to think that every other Democrat in the Senate should probably have a stroke, and they might turn out to be better than they currently are. And Rick, you hit on a lot of good stuff and some good Italian there too, with the grazie mille and all that good stuff. That's wonderful. But yeah, Katie Couric is sad, and it's true. A lot of them celebrated the assassination of a 31-year-old father of two and husband and Christian and pro-American booster who went and if you disagree with me, come to the front of the line talking to people. Again, he's in his 20s most of the time he was doing this, going to college campuses and intellectually challenging young people on college campuses and offering them the opportunity to make their cases on whatever the topic may be, covering the waterfront. And that makes him a villain because they're anti-intellectual and they're just a violent mob. And you're right that they canonized George Floyd, a career criminal and junkie, and a sad life story, to be sure. But on another day when he was committing another felony, a series of felonies actually, he committed the felony of passing counterfeit bill to an immigrant man who came to the United States and trying to make his way, working hard, running a business. And George Floyd, born and raised in the United States, not working hard, not running a business, but ripping people off, robbing people, and then resisting arrest violently. And again, for another time, and had so much fentanyl and methamphetamine in his system that he might have just died sitting at home in a Barcalounger from the drug overdose. And he died of cardiac failure, and he became a hero of the Democrat Party. They virtually canonized him, and it is the Democrat Party is an absolute disgrace to our history, to Western civilization.
They are so entrenched in their liberal and leftist communist ethos. They can't even think straight anymore. It's like they're on Trump derangement syndrome on steroids.
They are.
I mean, Katie Couric is a shill, and nobody even pays attention to her anymore. If she wasn't perky and short and good-looking 40 years ago, she'd have been on the ass heap of journalism.
That's all true and well phrased as well. Good stuff. Great stuff, George. And I got to say, the George Floyd story versus the Charlie Kirk story, the Democrats demonize one and canonize the other one. Can you guess which one they demonized and which one they canonized? They're an awful, terrible organization. They're violent. They're hostile to the world around them. They don't like people. They don't like America. They don't like Western civilization. And they're raising generations of similarly minded people. We're in for a terrible ride looking forward for the next couple of decades, I'm afraid, Rick.
Yeah, unfortunately. Well, Chris, I'm going to let you go. Ci vediamo, and we will talk later.
That is great stuff. Rick, thanks, buddy. That's good stuff. That is great. Man, oh, man, oh, man. I am telling you. We've got a lot of other crazy things going on. We have what's going on just outside of Chicago now, don't we? Because the Democrat mob has showed up after a Democrat judge, and it is a Joe Biden judge that has ruled that the Trump administration has to let go hundreds of illegal aliens that have been arrested for their illegal alienness and various other crimes. And because a judge, not in spite of the fact, but because a judge, a Biden judge, ordered that the illegal alien criminals who have been rounded up by federal law enforcement, that they've got to release all of the criminals because, Joe Biden and Democrats. And today, arrests are being made, lots and lots of arrests at this point, because the Democrat Party mob showed up at the ICE facility and attacked the police. And there is a Fox News reporter who is there covering the story. What's his name? Garrett Tenney for Fox News is on the scene of the latest Democrat Party violent mob criminal activity.
This roadway right here that leads to the ICE facility, it is blocked off. They are not supposed to be standing there. But over 10 minutes or so ago, this crowd started to move into the street to try to block it off from any access going in or out. And that's when these clashes with law enforcement started, when they refused to get out to the sides of the street, these designated protest zones, and some shoving that was involved with the county sheriff, as well as state police that are out here, as well as Broadview police. You can see down here now riot police coming down the road. And this is after a couple of weeks of mostly calm out here on Fridays.
Mostly peaceful. Got mostly peaceful going on. Also, President Trump today saying he's asking the Attorney General Pam Bondi and the FBI, Kash Patel, to investigate Jeffrey Epstein's relationship with former President Bill Clinton. Must have been listening to the show. Clinton's Treasury Secretary, Larry Summers, who I believe became president of Harvard, LinkedIn co-founder Reid Hoffman, J.P. Morgan Chase executives, and many other people and institutions in order to determine how many people and institutions were ongoing with the Jeffrey Epstein thing. So now here comes Bill Clinton and Larry Summers, Democrat Treasury Secretary, LinkedIn people, and J.P. Morgan, New York. Let's round them all up. What do you think happened here? Let's get one of those jail cells with lights in there, though. Now, did you see the Democrat show up at the office of a U.S. attorney, Alina Habba, who is right now in New Jersey an acting U.S. attorney because Chuck Schumer and the Democrats will obstruct everything everywhere like the communist rabble that they are. And so Alina Habba has not been officially confirmed by the Senate to be the U.S. attorney there, but she's the acting U.S. attorney, and she's looking at crooked Democrats. And yesterday, a Democrat showed up with a Louisville Slugger at her office and tried to get in and was prohibited from getting in with the Louisville Slugger. Leaving the Louisville Slugger outside, came back in, went to Alina Habba's office and attacked it because she's a Republican, attacked it and vandalized the office, and now they're going to have to find and arrest this Democrat and put him in prison just like the gang attacking the ICE facility outside Chicago today. Here's Pam Bundy.
What we can say is we are finding these people, we are arresting them, and we are charging them. They will go to prison for as long as we can send them. We know who did this to Alina Habba. I saw the video. It's chilling. This guy had a full-size baseball bat pacing like a caged animal in front of her office. Then ultimately he gets up to her office without the bat, but manages to tear apart the front office. And mark my words, he will be in jail and he will be prosecuted.
That would be a nice change of pace, I think. Yeah, the headline is Trump goon Alina Habba. I love this from the left-wing media. Daily Beast. Trump goon Alina Habba, a beautiful young woman who's an attorney, an established, wonderful person, is targeted by baseball bat-wielding man. And the Democrat Party has made all of this perfectly normal. This is just an ordinary day in the political life of the United States of America, thanks to the Democrat Party. And a riot going on out Chicago to release illegals.